This is perhaps the most well-known of business presentations. It fulfills many of the types of presentation that we do, from pitching ourselves when it comes to an interview, but crucially more obvious, pitching a business idea for either investment or pitching a proposal that you want to be working with somebody, doing that sales pitch in terms of pitching a product to somebody for them to buy. So a lot of our work in presenting in business is to pitch an idea, a product, a service to somebody else who perhaps has shown some interest but is yet to be convinced that they want to either buy, invest, or start using what you're offering. So the perfect pitch, what does it look like? How does it feel? I like this quote by Carmine Gallo: "If you can't tell me what you do in 15 seconds, I'm not buying, I'm not interested, I'm not investing." So can we, in our pitches, be really precise, to the point, to make sure we can convince our audience as quickly as possible why it's important and why they should carry on listening and finding out more about what it is that we're pitching? So where do we start when developing the perfect pitch? Firstly, what problem are you solving? You may have a wonderful product with a fabulous set of specifications. You may have a service that is second to none. But if you're not solving a problem for the person that you're pitching it to, then why would they bother listening anymore? If you're going for an interview and you're not helping them in their company by improving things as a result of employing you, then why would they bother employing you? If you're selling a product and it's not going to make their life better as a result of buying that product, it's not going to make their lives easier or more fulfilled, why would they bother spending their money on it? If you're offering a service but it's not going to make their lives easier, why would they bother buying that service? If you're pitching something for investment and it's not something that's actually going to make a difference to them and the world at large and isn't going to give them a return on their investment, why would they bother investing? So the first and most important thing to think about when we are developing the perfect pitch is to make sure we've clearly defined the problem that we're solving for our audience. Secondly, hopefully you've got a solution to that problem. So the next thing to make sure is you've got a solution that matches the problem. Not spending hours telling them about all the wonderful things it can do, which are just fluff, but making sure you know, you've explained, here is the solution to your problem. The next point is a bit like the first point, but what's in it for me? Why should I trust you? I.e., you might be pitching to a board of directors. What's the benefit for them? So really make sure that you've worked out what the problem is you're solving for the people that you're pitching to. So for example, it may be the engineering manager who is interested in your particular product, but you're now pitching to the board of directors with the finance director and the managing director. They're going to be more concerned perhaps about how much money you're going to save them, or how much more efficient you're going to make them, and therefore how much better the business is going to be. So make sure you understand with the audience that you're speaking to when you're pitching what problem and what you're doing for them that's going to make their lives better, not perhaps the person who originally showed an interest. So you need to understand your audience and why it's relevant to them and what the benefit is for them, compared to perhaps the direct relevance of your product or service in where it's going to be used. You need to build trust. Why should they trust you? Why should they entrust their money, their time, their energy, their effort into you with what you're offering? So how can you convince them of that? And a great way to do that is stories, and I'll cover that a bit more in a moment. Who are your competition? Acknowledge them, because if there is perhaps you're not the leader in the field. There is a well-known competitor, or perhaps there is another person who you know is going for a particular role, and you know that in many respects they've got something which you haven't got, or whatever else it might be. Acknowledge them and explain why you think you are a good alternative, and perhaps hopefully a better alternative to the person they would have conventionally bought from. Really make sure you can explain why they should buy from you, and not just in terms of I'm cheaper or I'm more friendly or I'm better, but really make sure, going back to that problem you're solving, why are you and your product or service the best to make sure you're solving that problem. A crucial thing in a pitch is go for the assumed yes. What do I mean by that? Here, especially when it comes to the closing call to action, don't go in sort of saying, well, I hope you enjoyed that talk. Do let me know if you'd like to talk about it further. Do let me know if you're interested. No, I would go in with the line, for example, of, thank you for listening to my presentation about our service. I would really like to know what the next step is so we can move towards starting work, and when it is you're looking to start work with us. What have I changed there? Well, rather than just talking in general terms about, I hope they like it, I've assumed they want to start work with me and they want to move the deal forward. And so what I'm moving towards is not, will you work with me, but when do you want to start working with me? I've assumed the answer is yes, and now I'm working on the detail. So really important with a pitch, assume a yes. Have the confidence that you can solve their problem effectively and well, and therefore they will want to work with you. So start working towards the outcome of that. And then make sure you do really work out what happens next. So what is the next part of the sales journey for that product or service? What do they need to do next? If you're talking to middle management, has it now got to go to board approval? What can you do to help with that? If you're going for an interview, are the people you're interviewing with on that interview panel the final decision makers, or is there somebody else that they're going to be reporting back to for a final decision? Have you got to go for a secondary interview? All of those different things. Make sure you know what happens next so you can follow up and follow that process through, that you can continue to show interest and don't just let it lie. So make sure you assume a yes, that you know you're going to go to the next stage, and make sure you know what that next stage is so that you can follow up and keep things going. Hope that's helpful for you to develop your perfect pitch so you can get the outcome you want from your presentation.